Hey, this is Tom Calvin. Thanks for tuning in to Tomorrow's Legends.
You think you know the story. You've heard it 100 times. But this is not the tale that you know, for this part of the story has yet to be written. Join Flash, Harley, and X-Force 11 as they take the Wave Rider into the near future and check in on some old friends. This is the new adventures of Superman and Lois, as chronicled by Tomorrow's Legends.
Hello, Superfam of Steel, and oh my gosh, I forgot to write an intro. I'm just realizing. Oh, that's catching me out with my pants down. All right, so this is episode 9 of the final season of Superman and Lois. It is called To Live and Die Again, and I don't know, guys. Penultimate episode. I'm very curious about what you guys thought, and we're going to dive into it because I'm a little bit mixed feeling. So we'll see if you guys make me feel better as we discuss it tonight. Let's get into it. We are very confused. I'm the Flash.
And I think this is absolutely hysterical. I'm Harley Quinn.
And I'm headed to Smallville because Superman needs all of us. I'm X-Force 11.
Nice.
Hello, Legends.
Phew. Gideon, are you confused?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe she's with me.
We're just recording way too early for you, Flash.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just too early in the day.
That's true. Yeah. 1 o'clock in the afternoon is too early for Flash. Yeah, exactly. I'm usually up pretty late. All right, you're listening to Tomorrow's Legends, which is part of the Cybercast Network, and we have covered Legends of Tomorrow, Stargirl, Superman, Lois, X-Men 97, Tomorrow People, Jupiter's Legacy, and we are looking forward to the Lanterns coming out sometime in the near future. You also want to check out Dive Into DC. They cover all your things DC related, that is, with Silver Fox and Green Butterfly. They are in the Penguin series right now, getting ready to finish that one, because that show is now done on broadcast. And then The Mandalore is about to start. Gosh, in less than 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about the Skeleton Crew. Yeah,
you get a nice little switch over. You go from covering Superman and Lois right into Skeleton Crew.
Yes, we do, so. Yeah. All right, let's get into some news for this week.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
All right, we're on all the socials. Yeah, we're there. We're not abandoning any, but we added Blue Sky this week just to make sure that folks that are talking about Superman and Lois and the other shows can find us there. We're at Tomorrow's Legends there, and we're, trying that out. But on to Superman and Lois. This episode matched the best for season high of 501K. So it's like the highest, tied for the networks, highest, in the final season of stuff. So good viewership in this episode. So that was good.
Good. So even though 500,000 is really low comparatively to network TV. I mean, if that's good for the CW, then great. But
yeah,
man, other TV shows are getting 6, 7, 10 million viewers. So
well, yeah. I mean, you got Monday Night Football, and then you've got some other stuff going on at the same time. So it's just we're not going to draw those type of numbers.
No.
So
No.
But so Bitsy revealed that there will be a surprise cameo in the season finale.
Ooh.
So there's all types of speculation going on. There's real, I think, data out there that there's going to be a time jump in the season finale. And so people were wondering what's going on there. People were throwing out all these different things. And the two that I could think of were This World's Oliver Queen. So we see Superman and the crew working with Ollie in the future and kind of bringing in there. Or since they're closing down DC TV on the CW with a Superman and Lois show, that they bring in Tom Welling, who started the run for DC TV on the network. So, those are my two guesses. But like, who knows who it's going to be? So,
are those guesses based on anything? Like just based on rumors?
No, that's just me.
Oh, okay.
Other people are guessing Welling as well.
Yeah.
But those are just my guesses. So there's not any like data out there. So.
Do I want to get my hopes up that it's going to be someone exciting, or are we going to be let down that it's just some random side character that never meant anything to us? Like, why would they leak that?
Well, and I think whoever it's going to be, if it is somebody like Oliver, it's going to be that world's Oliver and not the one we know. Like, it's not going to be, and if it's an Arrowverse character, it's not going to be, the same as the one we've seen, because we've established they would have to cross, dimensions to get there. So,
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it is the finale, and it'll be cool. Like, if it's somebody from all the other shows, that'll be pretty darn cool. Like, their version, like you said, in this universe, their version, that'll be pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
All right, this is your final reminder for those of you that are part of it. We're in the middle of contest time, so those who sent in feedback for last episode and this one, you guys are still in the running. Keep an eye on the Facebook page. I will be posting that picture after this episode releases, so you can include your answers in the final episode, where we will announce the winner of the contest for our 10x14 canvas print of Superman Lois poster. So yes, get in your feedback and then answer the question, what picture is not quite fully showing, or said what poster is not quite fully showing in the picture.
Yeah.
And then don't forget, we are going to be starting Justice League, the animated series, season 1, starting at the end of January. So where is that available for everybody, X-Force?
So that is both on Netflix and Max streaming. So if you've got either one of those services, you can watch all the episodes. And our first episode is going to be the 24th, Friday the 24th of January. So, and it's going to cover the first 3 episodes. The way this series runs, they run in 1 or 2 episode or 3 episode arcs, and so we'll just cover those arcs. And so the first of it is a 3 episode arc. So we'll be covering episodes 1 through 3.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. I am so looking forward to it. It's going to be fun to get back into some animation, and this is pretty much the best one, I think, for DC.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Going to be fun. All right. Well, guess what? This has been like almost week after week after week we've been getting this.
Letters lost in the timeline.
Although I wouldn't say these were necessarily lost. It's just that they're actually sending in specific pre-show feedback.
Yeah. So I had a response to Rick, and maybe he responded not knowing that I'm going to respond. But anyway, so Gordon Godfrey, a.k.a. Glorious Gordon Godfrey, was introduced in 1971, and he's been in various media such as Young Justice and other animated movies and series.
Right.
And he's a lot of the time tied into Apocalypse. And so, Rick was bringing up that, maybe this is a character, kind of a takeoff on a character from The Boys. Well, The Boys comics didn't start till 2006. So this is maybe the one from The Boys is a takeoff on this one. So who knows? But just wanted to bring that back. So, yeah.
Cool. Alrighty, well, he does have pre-show feedback, probably talking about our last week's episode. I think that's what it's usually about. Here he is.
Hey guys, Rick from Orlando here with some pre-show feedback. Just wanted to touch base on a few items from your last podcast. First of all, I had been talking about the Tom Cavanaugh character and how it seemed evocative to me of a similar character on The Boys. And a couple of people, Jeff and also I think Carrie Johnson, pointed out on the Facebook group that the character that Cavanaugh is playing is actually a legacy comic book character. I wasn't aware of that. That particular character actually goes back to the Dark Side comics of the early 70s, Jack Kirby series, and I was not aware of that. I remember when Jack Kirby came to DC, but I never really got into the dark side stuff. So that's good to know that this Godfrey character is actually a legacy character in the comics, so I appreciate you telling me that. I do still think that the way Kavanaugh played it is very similar to the way the other actor was playing a similar role on The Boys, but it's good to know that this is actually a legacy character. Second, I wanted to just talk briefly about this Milton Fine character. You guys were impressed with him and thought he looked familiar. He's probably a journeyman Vancouver actor, which I'm sure he is. But the thing that you might remember him from is Riverdale. I instantly recognized him. That's Dr. Curdle. Dr. Curdle, the coroner on Riverdale. Kind of a creepy character on that show, and he's playing this one in a very similar manner. So, and I don't remember what the actor's name, Nikolai Witschke, I think is his actual name, but he's clearly a recognizable face, and I at least recognized him from Riverdale. Third thing I wanted to talk about briefly, you were discussing whether Superman wears his clothes, his Superman costume under the street clothes, and that's the way it always worked in the comic books. And even the 50s TV show that I used to watch, and I don't know about the TV shows after that, but in the comics, he always wore his Superman costume underneath the Clark Kent clothes. I don't really know how they ever explained the boots. He obviously, and especially on the TV show, you could see Clark wearing a business suit to work, and how the boots go under the dress shoes. I don't know how that works. That's comic book logic. You sort of have to wink at that. But definitely the concept is that he always wore his costume under his street clothes, which interestingly is the opposite of the Flash, who has that little ring that makes the uniform go over his street clothes. And with Superman, it was clearly different. The one interesting thing in the Superman comics is that question always came up, what does he do with his Clark Kent outfit when he's Superman? And in the comics, it was explained that he compresses the Clark Kent clothes down and stores it in a little pocket in his cape. His cape has a pocket, apparently, where he stores the Clark Kent clothes, and there must have been some mumbo-jumbo about how he can compress the clothes,
Yeah.
and then when they come back out, they're wrinkle-free, so I don't know how all that works, whether it's special material or whatever. But that's the answer to the question of, where did the Clark Kent clothes go? Fourth thing I wanted to talk about briefly, just a little bit about Brainiac. It looks like Milton Fine I don't know whether they're going to explicitly bring Brainiac into the series or not, but I was just thinking about the fact that Brainiac has a very unusual history in DC Comics, and I'm not going to try to summarize that history because it's very complex. But the one thing you'll notice in every iteration of Brainiac, he's always presented as a brain, very smart. Sometimes he's an artificial intelligence, sometimes he's a robot, sometimes he's a mechanical brain, he's a computer. Brainiac is always presented as having some kind of special intelligence related to some kind of technology. And you might be interested to know that actually goes back to a lawsuit. DC was sued back in 1964, and it goes back to their use of the word Brainiac. Brainiac was created in 1958 by a writer named Otto Binder. And he came up with a name based on Brain and Maniac. This was a maniac character who was going around shrinking cities. But he was not a mechanical brain. He was just an alien. He was a humanoid-type alien, a green-skinned alien. He looked like a Martian. And he was presented that way for several years. But in 1964, DC got sued by a guy who actually made a game called Brainiac back in the 50s. This was like a quasi-prototype computer game. It wasn't really a computer game. It was more of a circuit board where you have wires that make lights come on. You put wires into different plugs, and you've got, on the back of it, you can rewire wires to different terminals. And you can come up with rudimentary logic games and things like that. And this guy, it was originally called Geniac. He was in partnership with somebody else, and it was named after the ENIAC, which was the first commercial computer made back in the 40s. So they initially called it Geniac, and then he split up with his partner, and then he developed his own version of it called Brainiac. Brainiac, again, was ENIAC, but it was a sort of quasi-computer. And when DC started using the name Brainiac, they didn't know about this game, so they got sued. And in a different world, there could have been a cease and desist order where they were just enjoined from ever using that product name again. But no, they came up with a settlement that DC was allowed to continue using the name Brainiac as long as they made the character into some kind of a computer. I have a computer brain or a robot brain, something along those lines. And that is why Brainiac's origin got changed, and he got retconned into being this initially computer and then a robot, and again, different iterations, but not the original humanoid he was. So that's just a little bit of Brainiac history that I thought I would throw in there. And then lastly, I just wanted to answer the question that, Flash, you asked about whether or not I have either a law enforcement or a legal background, because some of my feedback seems to be geared to those areas, and I get that. I understand why you would ask that. But no, I am not a policeman. I am not a lawyer, nor, in the words of the late Robert Young, have I ever played either on TV. I'm neither of those things. But those are, interestingly, two careers that I did consider very seriously at different points in my life. When I was a young child, I wanted to be a policeman. When I was in the single digits, I always wanted to be a policeman. In fact, I was quoted by somebody as saying at a very young age, I wanted to be a policeman so I could, quote, put people in jail. I don't know if I really said that, but I clearly had an interest in law enforcement, probably from watching Dragnet, Highway Patrol, and other 50s police shows. And when I was in college, about 15 years after that, I did seriously think about going to law school. I was very much interested in law. I took a couple of law courses, but I ended up not going to law school. After I graduated, I went to an MBA program instead. But it's interesting that those are two fields that I was interested in. In fairness, though, and in completeness, I had many other career aspirations. For a long time, I wanted to be a scientist because I have a very intense interest in science and physics, cosmology, astronomy, all those kinds of things. And when I initially entered college, I actually was an astronomy and physics major. There was a period of time in my life as a teenager where I wanted to be a writer. I actually wrote a mystery novel once, but this is in the days before computers and word processors. It was just written on a typewriter, and the manuscript got accidentally thrown out by an apartment janitor of all things. So that kind of quashed my writing career. But ultimately, I didn't do any of those things. I didn't go into law or police work or science. My career is actually in IT. I worked in IT for 43 years. I started out as a computer operator and then a programmer, systems analyst, project manager, eventually became a manager, a director. I became a company executive in IT, and then I retired. So that's my whole career. So sorry, no police work, no law work, but I just wanted to clarify that if anybody was interested. Anyway, that's enough for now. I'll send you regular feedback on the episode from this week, which I have not watched yet, and I will watch that in the next couple of days. Okay, that's all I got this time. Again, this is Rick from Orlando. Take care.
Well, fascinating stuff. I guess that's just where your area of interest lies, and you have a lot of knowledge about it. So, but going back to like the whole Superman and his outfit thing. I mean, if he's wearing it under his regular clothes all the time, every day, like he must have to wash that thing every day. Because wearing a skin tight outfit, come on, man. Like
it's Kryptonian
antimicrobial protect.
Yeah.
I think for me, I would like to believe that he just changes so fast because he can move at the speed he can move. Like when he goes into the phone booth, I prefer that aspect of it, that he just changes in the blink of an eye. Where he keeps the outfit, I have no idea, but it's, yeah. And that reminds me, I still have to post that picture of him breaking through the glass. I got a note written down here. I'll remember to do that. Of him breaking through the glass, and you see the suit just grow on him like a liquid.
Yeah.
So I'll post that, but. Yeah,
interesting. That would be good. So.
All right. Well, fascinating stuff to open the show. Let's get into our ratings and impressions.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
All right.
I gave this one 8 times knockdown, get up 10. So we got all the pieces for the season finale set up. The boys working together, Luthor in the power armor that can kill Clark, a comic book accurate doomsday, and much more. Was it the best penultimate episode I have seen? No, but I liked it. And I kind of talked a little bit in the blog post for the Libsyn episode that this episode was like a chess match starting out with people moving stuff on the board. There's a lot of movement and feints and things like that going on. So, as opposed to being action-packed and getting everybody, most of the stuff out of the way, and then, in the finale, we've got a little bit of action, and then they do the, whatever. This was all set up. It was, setting the board for different moves that are going to be made. So it's more like chess, I guess. And so it's just different than what we have seen. But, I liked that we are getting some things set up for next episode.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm there with you. I think chess is probably a really good way to describe it because I gave this one, I would say 8 setups for the finale, and it was kind of a little slow for me. I thought it was still really well done. I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe it was because I was tired. I was having a harder time just sort of staying engaged with this particular episode, but I do think it set up all the pieces we need for the finale. It has left me with a couple of questions at the end. I think I know where they're going, but I can always be wrong. So we'll just have to see in the end what they end up really doing with it.
Yeah, true. I'm also only giving it an 8, not enough time for setup. Seriously, guys, with an entire series wrapping up and coming to an end faster than a speeding bullet, they think a setup episode for the penultimate of all penultimate episodes was a good idea. I'm frustrated by that. It means we're going to have a Stargirl-like finale where everything gets addressed way too fast and in too short of time, and I'm worried it'll be too quick and leave us feeling a bit left out, like we missed out on something great. 42 minutes is just not enough time to wrap a series up. I trust them, but my guard is up. Now, this wasn't a bad episode at all. Like, it was on its own, like as an episode breakdown on its own. It was a great episode, but probably the slowest in the season. And if it was just prepping for a season finale, I'd be much more okay with it. But right now, I'm not okay with this choice in direction. Damn it. Like, come on. Like, the penultimate is usually the best episode of the season, and the finale is usually a letdown. So I'm hoping they bring it. They better take the gloves off and come in swinging like Superman can and give us a finale. Yes. Let's get into our show as we talk about everything, and I'm totally lost where everything is here. Let's go. All right. So, starting off with the price of fame. So, just a little setup here. We've got, this is what I found interesting, that Lex is kind of coming at the Kents from all angles. So even though he's totally refocused his mission, so like he's all about vengeance, he's not really too worried about Amanda's plan. He just wants to do everything he can to take down the Kents. And so I think that's probably the best way to describe like how the setup, honestly, for like this whole episode goes, because that's all kind of what it revolves around and builds towards.
Yeah, because last week we kind of predicted that Lex had Clark scans now that he had the armor, and he's released those out into the world. And then, like you said, he's coming after Lois using the press and the advertisers for the paper. So he's coming at both of them from different angles.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like he's not wanting to listen to Amanda so much anymore, because now he's starting to see things aren't falling into place the way he wants, and he's also getting a little impatient. Like we see in that opening scene, like, you know, or not quite the opening scene, but when Superman confronts him, like he rips off his tie, he rips off the jacket, he's like, I'm done. This is not me. I am Lex, and I'm going to go back to what makes me feel good. So he's, you know, vengeance and revenge and the anger that fuels him, that drives him to go forward. I think that's the Lex that we're getting this in this iteration is anger, revenge, vengeance. That kind of stuff is what fuels him and makes him feel confident and sure of everything.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. It's almost like this series is setting up Lex for the future, whereas in iterations past, it's kind of been the opposite, where Lex has already been Lex. But this feels like it's setting up the Lex that we are used to seeing to be like in the future.
Right.
Yeah. So, dealing with fame, the boys have their own groupies. Plus, the family is getting dishes named after them at Vicky May's, so that was kind of interesting. I feel sorry for Jordan, though, but yeah.
I thought that was really funny. And it gives us a little bit of a feel for maybe what the future could be like for the boys in a world where everyone actually knows who they are. I thought it was a hysterical visual gag. I love seeing Jordan's curly fries in that container,
Yeah.
like with the whole thing. I was like, that's fantastic. It really just made me giggle.
Well, I mean, he's upset because he's on the kids menu, but when you look at his goofy costume, he looks like a character that kids would cheer for. Like he just has, so it suits the whole ideal. And then if you look at McDonald's and all the Happy Meals they've ever done, they do the exact same thing when the new superhero movie comes out. They load up the kids menu with all these great items and different containers, so everybody gets cartoon. Is cartoonized a word? I just made one up if it isn't, but so it was pretty funny. But like you're saying, this is a hint at their future, what their future could be like. I think it will dwindle. Like, this is just the beginning. They are immediate hot celebrities right now because now the world knows they have superpowers. But once the world gets used to it and gets accustomed to them running around, this kind of thing will dwindle off. And there won't be the media chasing them anymore. It's just the beginning, and that's what we're seeing. So I think they'll eventually be used to it, and there won't be people chasing them around.
Yeah, this is just, it's new. I don't know. It's definitely interesting.
So,
hey Jeff, let's interrupt for a second. You got real quiet. I don't know if something compared to when you were reading the news, you've quieted down. That's kind of strange.
okay.
He sounds kind of the same to me. He's been a little quieter than you the whole episode, but sorry.
1 2. The boys have their own groupies, plus the family is getting dishes at Vicky's Maze.
I hear you fine. You're just, Harley's a lot louder, so maybe that's the difference.
Okay. Well, I'll turn myself up some, so.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, Clark takes the boys to the fortress for training, and this is interesting because he gets each of them individually to square off against the steel suit, and they are not succeeding at all, and he just finally stops it. And then he talks with his mom, Lara, and she says basically, they're never going to be as strong as you because they're only half Kryptonian. And it was really touching. After that, she reminds him of the sacrifices that she and Jor-El made to save him. And so it just, it gets him thinking about what he's going to have to do, the sacrifices he's going to have to make. But it was, it was interesting to get the clarification that, they're never going to be Superman level strong because they're only half Kryptonian.
Yep.
Yeah, because I have been wondering when this is going to come into play, because they've made such a big deal, especially this season, about Clark having a human heart and how that's taking a toll and it's affecting his powers and all of this. And I was like, are they going to address the fact that the boys are only half Kryptonian? Like, there's no way they can ever be fully what he is or what he was, at any point. And so I'm glad that they kind of came out and said that. I mean, I think most of us had kind of like surmised it or guessed at it, but I do like that it was actually confirmed.
Me too, because it, like you're saying, we're looking at Clark having a human heart now, so he's being affected. The fact that they finally give us an answer, like, these boys are only half Kryptonian, they're half human. There's no way, like we've all been thinking, there's no way they're going to be as strong as him. They never can be. And it scientifically and naturally, it makes sense that they can't be like him, because their human half is going to dwindle, or not dwindle, but weaken all of their abilities. They're going to, yes, they're fast. Yes, they're strong. I bet you their heat vision isn't as powerful. Like, there's every single thing will be a much lesser version of Superman. And I am so glad that they brought that up and made a point about it. And the fact that Lara is the one that says, they will not be as strong as you, ever. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah. So this really kind of keys into, his thinking, and he talks with Lois, and then he really says, okay, I've got to come at this at a different angle. And so Lois basically says, don't think about what they can't do, think about what they can do. So he takes them to train, and it was really good because, like, he talks about, like, all my training, it was just me. All the people that I've ever faced, it's just me. I never had anybody. You two have each other. And so he suggests they work together as a team to do things. And he has them trying to hit him. But they're not having any success, but it's at least getting them thinking of, okay, we've got to work together as a team, like they did defeating Starlight's armor in last episode, where they both use their heat vision. So they've got to work together.
With our powers combined.
And this is what it makes me think of.
Planetary powers, activate!
Right? Like, it.
Nice.
It's exactly what it is. Because they are both only half, you put the two of them together, they become whole. And I think together they can be as strong as their dad. And what I like about that, because we talked about this a couple episodes ago, that the twins, they have to work together. They just have to combine their strengths and weaknesses and work together. It's going to be a team up, and we were excited about the future possibilities of that. Like, what could we see? Could you imagine seeing Jordan and him running, like Jonathan, running around the world together, fighting crime, saving people, working as a tandem duo? How much fun is that going to be? We've never seen anything like that before with Superman or Superboys kind of thing. So I like that this directly relates to that, and that's what we're going to see going into the future if the show were to continue, or if other stories were to come out, in comic book form or whatever from this. Is the boys having to work together? They're twins; they have to work together, and that only then are they the most powerful. It's been shown in so many other, like it was shown in what was that X-Men TV show that went for 2 seasons where the twins.
Oh,
Gifted.
The Gifted, yes.
The twins were powerful together. Individually, okay, but together, unstoppable. It's very similar, and I like that for these guys. It makes sense.
Well, and two, it hits from, like, if you're doing attacks from two sides, where Clark can only do it from one. So it's like,
True.
It's going to throw people off when you're getting attacked from two different angles. So it'll be good.
Exactly.
Yeah, and only at those, like, 2 different angles would it be strong enough to actually work. So yeah, no, I agree. I like that. I think it was smart way to address it.
All right, so the next section is a big part of the episode we call Lois Investigates. So Amanda comes in, drops off the bill for Lex's window, and serves them with the lawsuit. And here you get this verbal sparring back and forth between the two of them, and Amanda basically insinuates that Cheryl's dead. And this is interesting because Amanda's attacks have gotten in Lois's head. I mean, she's frustrated, she's feeling defeated, and it takes Clark coming in and taking her back to her Lois's master class of, go back, trust your guts, go back to the beginning, to get her moving, because she's just ready and resigned and ready to give up there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like it grounded, this scene grounded everything in reality, because Superman flies out a window and causes a bit of destruction. And we've always made the jokes, like when you look at the movie, especially the Superman movies with Henry Cavill. I mean, when he's fighting, he destroys the city in his fight. Who pays for that? Who fixes all of that? Like, everybody always acts, and there was a comic book series in Marvel called Damage Control, and that's what it was all about, is the mayhem that has to get cleaned up after superheroes have a fight. So I love that this just grounded that in reality. Like, hey, Superman flew out my window and wrecked the place. He's got to pay for it. Here's the bill, here's the thing, and we're also gonna slap a lawsuit on you too because of everything you caused. Like, it really made everything just feel realistic, that Superman probably has to deal with a lot of these things all the time. We just never see it because who cares? It's boring. That's not part of comic book stories, but it has to happen. So it was just kind of fun.
Yeah, well, it's kind of fun, but it also brings realism, kind of like back into this plot. And that's what the show does so well, is like it takes these fantastic situations and these super beings that don't exist in our world, but it gives it elements of realism and elements of like our world that shine through. So I love when we kind of like get these little bits that sort of bring it back to that. I think this was well done.
Yeah, totally. And
it keeps Lois relevant and in the story.
Mm-hmm.
So
very true, very true. And then you're talking about with Amanda getting into Lois's head. This is we talked about this last week. I was getting frustrated with Lois because she's very emotional and she reacts emotionally to everything. And when she does that, she isn't thinking straight and she makes brash decisions and choices and runs out. And that always makes things worse. It always causes trouble for her. And the fact that Clark comes back and reminds her about who she was, and he quotes her and he says, "Guess who said that? You said this." I love that whole scene, and I had actually saved it for our favorite scenes. I got a few of them, but you know what? We're talking about it. Let's play that scene right now, and then you guys can react, because I called this one, "You're Such a Dork."
You okay? Did something happen while I was gone?
Amanda McCoy dropped off another gift from Luther. His army of lawyers is going to sue us out of existence.
Okay, so we'll find a way to stop him.
How? Cheryl Kimball's dead.
What?
Amanda all but confirmed it. And everyone else is either dead or lawyered up. We've been at this for months with nothing to show for it. We lost.
Whoa, hey, we have not lost. After everything we've been through, your cancer diagnosis, your treatments, the surgery, I died.
Because Luther killed you. Even Superman wasn't safe from that lunatic.
Yeah, and we're still here. The two of us together. Who does Luther have? Amanda McCoy? You and me, we are unstoppable. Chapter 7 of your masterclass. How does it start?
Clark, please.
Oh, come on, it's my favorite part. Just say it once.
When you hit a wall, trust your gut, then retrace your steps and go back to the beginning.
You should listen to her. She's pretty awesome.
You're just such a dork.
I know, that's why you love me.
That's gonna take some getting used to.
Yeah. Look, Luther was pretty clear that he's coming for all of us now. I need to make sure the boys are ready to handle whatever his next move is. Call me if you need me.
Okay.
And that highlights what you've brought up quite often in X-Force, like the relationship between these two. They know each other so well. They always have each other's back. And the fact that he can see her having an emotional breakdown and she's not thinking straight, he dials her back. He knows exactly what she needs to reset, gather herself, and start again. And she ends up finding the solutions that she needs. And I love these two, how they work together.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's one of the highlights. I mean, people, especially this week, have been just bragging on the high bar that they set for both characters, but both of them as a couple. And so yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
So yeah. So this gets her thinking, and so she heads to Stryker's to talk with Bruno Manheim. So this was definitely a surprise of getting Bruno back. And she knows that he has history with Lex, and she thinks by working together that they can bring him down. And they have a lot of good points in this. Part of this is my favorite scene, but they're arguing about the morals of dealing with Lex, of how you go about dealing with Lex and letting him free, setting him up to be in prison. They go back and forth on a lot of these things before they kind of come to an agreement.
It is a fantastic scene, and actually, when you had it in your favorite scene, and then there's like a little cut in between them, I actually took both scenes and put them together. So we're gonna have a nice long extended scene of their entire discussion, because it's just so good, and it makes you remember, like, because I know I was up and down about Bruno during the season, but it's the delivery of this guy's lines, like how well he enunciates everything, the way he talks with such passion, and there's so much oomph behind the delivery of his lines that these scenes were just really, really powerful, and it really brought you back on, even though Clark and Lois were going after Bruno really wasn't a bad guy. Like, he was doing good for that area of the city, that the people he was trying to help. Like, we maybe didn't agree with how he went about helping the people, but everything he was doing was always for helping the people. And I mean, it's his doctors, his lab, his research that helped save Lois. So I think seeing her finally come to him and appreciate that, 'cause she even says, like, your doctor saved me. Like, they've been so kind. They've been treating me so well, even after I went after you. And I love this for Lois, because she was finally eating a bit of her own, like taking the foot out of her mouth kind of thing. Because she did kind of screw up in her attack on Bruno, now that they know exactly what the full story was. And I kind of like that. I liked his delivery, and I liked the way she had to, swallow some pride. It was great.
Yeah, no, these were definitely some great scenes that I was not expecting to get. And it's just always great to have, like, Chad Coleman back on the screen, especially, like, with what he brings to this character. Like, I just really love the way he's played Bruno Manheim, and kind of, it's been very, again, like, the realism. It's been very real. It's been very, like, kind of, like, brought down to earth. And so I've really appreciated that about his performance, and also, like, about their discussions. I mean, they're trying to figure out, as two humans, how to go about stopping Lex in a very, like, human kind of way. And so I think that side of the story is just as important as, like, the fantastic superhero side of the story. So it's always good to see.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's like, you unleash this on yourselves, you're going to have to deal with it. Lex has done the same thing over and over, and now you're just having to pay for it. And she brings up her family and how he's going after it, and she says, like, listen, he's not going to stop with us. He's going to go to Hobbs Bay. He's going to go after Mateo. And that's what kind of breaks Bruno out of it, to say, okay, this is bigger than you just having to deal with it. And so this is where they start working together, and they're going over all the people that might have, dirt and the way to get at Lex, and they're all dead. He doesn't leave loose ends.
Yeah.
And you like, okay, we're done. We can't do anything until Lois brings up Cheryl Kimball. And Bruno says, brings it all up. Like, she was military. She brought all that into the contacts with Lex, and she was in love with him, and he used her and threw her away. And Lois is like, I see a pattern here with Amanda. So, like, it was that last grasp that really, made the difference here.
Yeah, and that's Lois's investigating style. That's her reporter style, is to get people to side with her and give her the information she wants, as she brings up something that she knows is sensitive to them. So bringing up the fact that you think you're going to be okay out of this, like, he's going to come after you next and finish you off, and because you helped Lois and Clark put him away and all that kind of stuff. So Lex isn't gonna let that slide, and it's those types of things that Lois is really good at, is to find what it is that is sensitive to the person she's trying to get info from, and that's what makes him crack. And yeah, the Cheryl Kimball stuff. I mean, it's interesting that they kind of kill her off scene. I wish we had saw that, like, we should have saw Lex dealing with her, but just the fact that it was done off scene.
Was it really off scene, though? I mean, she was in a burning building. It was pretty clear she wasn't getting out of there.
Oh, that's true.
Well, but she got saved.
I didn't think she got saved. I thought she died in the fire.
Well, that's when...
No, Jonathan saved her.
John came in,
yeah,
and then Superman came in.
Yeah.
So, but...
I thought she was left in that burning building for some reason. I guess that was just me.
but why would Lois think she's still alive if both of her son and her husband didn't tell her? Oh, she's dead.
Okay. Oh well, I guess that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I don't know why. For some reason, I just thought she died in the fire.
Yeah. So.
Oh well.
But that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, if not, yeah, I agree that shouldn't have been done off scene. But again, like constraints of the short season.
Yeah.
But that does kind of suck.
Unless she's not, unless they're just saying that, like Lex is trying to do some manipulation, or sorry, Amanda's just doing some manipulation. Yeah, she's dead. What are you talking about? I mean, they could just be saying that to get under Lois's skin, and because they know how she reacts to things. So
well, and you could have
It's
the
true.
two of Cheryl and Amanda teaming up to help take down Lex.
there you go. That's possible.
In the next episode, but who knows?
Yeah.
So
Well, that would be an interesting twist.
Yeah.
I have a feeling like this is the last we'll hear of Cheryl, let alone see
yeah,
of Cheryl.
probably.
But yeah, that would be an interesting twist. But yeah, everything with her. I mean, I like the way that they have continued to use it. Like first to get back, like to like hurt the Kents, like to get kind of under Lois's skin, but then they use it again in the end to get under Amanda's. So it's got a dual purpose. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this gets Lois on the forefront and taking things out and being proactive. So she goes on an interview talking about how she stopped Doomsday in the first place, that we get to see Lex watching. And then she goes and confronts Amanda before the board meeting, and she warns her about Lex's pattern. And, Amanda's like, whatever, kind of blowing her off. She's like, well, ask Lex about Cheryl. And so that gets her thinking, okay, I'm seeing these cracks with my relationship with Lex. I'm going to have to do that. So, again, we've seen Lois do this before, and she's being consistent of like, here's the truth you need to hear. Ask.
And how do you get someone to, start questioning their position? You bring up the jealousy card. Guess what? He was in love with another woman, and he used her and killed her. And what's he doing with you? He's using you, and he's going to kill you. So, he did it. He's done it over and over and over again. So, and that of course gets Amanda thinking, like, even though she, tells Lois, no way, he loves me, and I'm his right hand person. I run the company. Like in her mind, it's already churning. Like,
yeah.
Exactly. It plants that seed of doubt. I mean, that's all they needed.
Yep, seeds of doubt.
I mean, really.
Yeah, and then, later on in the episode, Amanda turns around and kind of fills Lois in on what's going on. So it worked.
Yeah, it worked. Yep. And it gave them the foundation to be able to go after him and start breaking things apart for Lex, which is turning the tide on him a little bit.
Yep.
All right. Next up is Lex's Legion of Doom. So basically kind of continuing with Lex. So we talked about it earlier. I love this scene where Clark wants to get in Lex's head. And so he, flies in to LexCorp. He confronts Lex and, basically says, like, listen, you're letting Amanda use you. It's her plans. It's not yours. It's sowing that doubt there. And Lex snaps back and said, the boys are still got their training wheels. Lois is vulnerable. I'll come after you. But he's rattled, like Flash said earlier in the episode. Like he takes off the tie. He takes, unbuttons the shirt. He takes, that image that Amanda has been working on building in him. And he's like, no, I'm doing it my way.
Yep. And you know what? I have that scene right here. We'll play it right now, and then me and Harley will react. So this one is Confront Your Enemies.
This is a pretty dramatic move.
Are you questioning my judgment?
Of course not. I have the agreement right here.
Go away. You here to appeal to me as a father again?
I'm here to tell you you'll never hurt another person.
Tough talk from someone flying around with a 60-year-old heart.
No, it worked just fine the last time you were in Smallville. How's your eye?
If you haven't noticed, things have changed.
Well, because you shaved and put on a suit? Seems to me like you're playing dress-up. Or maybe more like Amanda McCoy is playing dress-up with you.
I thought you might be here to talk about a different suit.
I have a feeling that was her idea, too. Using the Godfrey interview as a distraction? It's not really your style.
You don't know my style.
Well, do you even have one if someone else is always calling the shots?
I don't need her to take you out.
You keep telling yourself that.
You're no match for what's next. Your boys, they're in training wheels. And Lois, there's nothing she can do. I am coming after everything you have ever loved. And I will rip it all away from you, just like I ripped out your beating heart.
Enjoy your freedom, Lex. It's running out. Nice tie.
Yeah, see, why I threw that in there as a scene is because it's Superman is now confronting Lex and not backing down. He's showing that even though my powers are diminishing, I am not scared of you. And they know that they can turn this around on Lex by digging into the things that are bugging him. Like, you're not in control. Amanda's making the calls. You're following her lead like a lost puppy. Like, she's doing everything. And that's what drives Lex crazy, because Lex is all about, I am the power. I am number one. I am in charge. Nobody tells me what to do. And that got under his skin, and then it leads to him ripping off the shirt and because Superman's like, nice tie, by the way. And Lex is like, take it off. So it's working. They're able to turn the tide on Lex and get under his skin now, like Lois got under Amanda's skin with that jealousy thing. So it's things are starting to fall apart, and it's great. It's great that we saw them figure out, because they understand their adversaries, and figure out we need to use their weak points to get the better of them, and that's what they both did.
I mean, it definitely sets the stage for this entire episode for sure. And so I think it was a pretty great, maybe not opening scene, but it was a pretty great early on scene, because it definitely sort of set that tone where, he's able to get under his skin. And that's definitely a side of like Clark and Superman we don't often get to see. And so that was interesting as well. I was like, ooh, okay, I'm kind of digging this. So, well done.
Yeah, it was good.
So we find out what was in the envelope, because Lex talks with Amanda, and basically he has made her the second largest shareholder in Luthor Corp, just behind him. And he basically says, okay, now that you're the number 2, go manage the board meeting. And, he's already beginning to pull away from her.
Yep.
Oh, man. I really just don't think he's capable of loving anyone except for himself now. I think the only other person he possibly loved was his daughter, like actually ever truly loved. We saw very clearly he didn't really love his wife, not in the way that she needed him to. And I don't think he's ever going to be able to do that for anybody. So yeah, that was it was interesting. But it kind of starts to show, well, we get this in a couple of scenes, but it'll start to show his colors that he doesn't really love her in the way that she thinks that he does.
And we never even saw it anywhere. Like, even in the moments when they were alone and there seemed to be like sparks flying, it was only coming from her. If you remember and look at his face, he never looked at her with any admiration at all in a loving way. He just looked at her cold, stoned, psycho kind of look. And even though when she kissed him, it wasn't a kiss of love or compassion. It was just a physical thing in that moment. So I agree. I don't think he's ever going to love anybody. He's never able to. He's all about power and control. That's what he loves.
Well, I think getting a little analyzing into things, I think he finds it very difficult to receive love from a woman because of the relationship he had with his mom. Very that abusive, relationship that he had with his mom. Like, he didn't have that model of like, okay, this is, what love from a woman kind of looks like. So like, he's always had to be defensive and, put up a front because of that relationship with his mom. So I think that's part of what drives this Lex. And so, yeah.
I agree.
So later on, Milton basically, is filling in Amanda about Doomsday and basically says, listen, you're not in charge here. He is. And so Amanda, is seeing what Lois says coming to fruition, and she confronts Lex about the plan about Doomsday. And, she's perfectly fine with wiping out Superman and Lois, but Lex wants to wipe out the entire town, and he's just snapping here and showing his true colors, and he's basically saying Clark and Lois got to both of us, but he's just done, and she sees for who he really is. So
yeah, I mean, he shows all of his cards. I mean, in this one instant, and none of us are surprised by it, but of course she is. She thought that she was in control. She thought that she was winning, and you never are with these types of people. I mean, they're very good at making you feel good and making you think that you're in control, but in actuality they're the ones that are in control. They're just master manipulators. So it's sad, but true.
And I do like going back to the beginning of that discussion point, like Milton and Amanda, Milton also rubs in it. So this is where not only did Lois get through to her, but the fact that Milton's like, you're not in control here. Like, who the hell are you? You're nobody. I am the genius behind the scenes, and I'm going to take over this whole thing. Yeah. That also got to her as well. And it just basically shows us that Amanda is eventually going to be tossed aside. Whether she dies or she gets fired, where she's going to be tossed aside. I know Lex gave her second command of the corporation, so that might be where she ends up sitting, is just running the office type of idea. But Milton is even digging it in, like, I'm the genius. Like, you got nothing on me, and I'm the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. So I like that. That was kind of like there's dissension in the ranks, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So talking about Milton, he has upgraded the suit's operating system. He's tied it into the LexCorp satellite system. He's infused the armor with kryptonite, so the closer Clark gets, the weaker he gets. And he added kryptonite-laced screws so Lex can basically bore in and destroy Superman's heart. And we also get the info that Milton has found the Captain Luthor file in the Armor's OS. So he knows that this is not from this reality, and he gets info on that, so that may lead into next episode. But he also, and more importantly, finds the Bizarro/Doomsday files in the Armor, and that kind of that with Lois's interview leads Lex to the mines, basically saying, oh, I know where Doomsday is gone. He's gone to Smallville to get back to his own world. And so there's a lot happening here, but we're kind of set up with it. We've got this great suit and all the info he has, and it kind of surprised me that we went a little bit different for the remainder of the episode for the action, but I guess they're saving that for next week. But it's a definitely formidable suit that he's got now, Lex has now.
Yeah, and I mean, my favorite part is the fact that he laced it with kryptonite, Lex's suit. Now here's the suit, the thing that we see in the comics, the video games. the cartoons, Lex's suit has all these glowing green highlights all around it, and that's the kryptonite glowing, through power or whatever. And I can't wait till we see that version of it, because seeing that live action is going to be really cool. So that part excited me. Now to catch up, I love the full circle moment for Doomsday. I mean, Doomsday has now remembered that he is Bizarro, and where his home is, it's from that other universe through the portal. The only way to get back is through Smallville, where it's been collapsed in the mine, and he's busy digging his way through to see if the portal's still open to go back home. So Lois has also gotten through to him. He remembers who he is, and he wants to get back, but we see what we're going to talk about next, what Lex ends up doing to him to try to reverse that direction again.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of this was a little wild, and I feel like in the span of 2 minutes, they threw an absolute ton of information at us that is probably a little hard to fully understand until we can completely see it. But it definitely paints Lex as a very formidable character. It, in my opinion, almost seals Superman's fate for the series. So it'll be interesting to see how they finally leave it. But, we speculated, several episodes ago, what are the things they've never done with Superman? We listed 3 or 4 of them. They've done all of them except for actually kill him. So I don't know. I don't know if that's what's coming in the finale or not. It certainly seems like that's what they're hinting at, which we can get into a little bit more if you guys want at the end of the next section. But it's certainly painting Lex to be a very formidable, very final foe, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got Doomsday returns. So Lex goes to the mines and finds Doomsday. And he says, die for me one more time. We're like, die for me one more time. And he fires these rockets into Doomsday, and before Clark can stop it, they explode. And then we get the only comic book accurate Doomsday that we've ever seen in live action here on screen on a CW budget.
That's right.
It was amazing. Seeing all those the snow-covered ice spikes coming out of his body and stuff. Wow. I mean,
yes.
They are making him look so fantastic. But here's the thing, what when he says die for me one more time, why does Doomsday accept that? Why does he give in to that? And then what does it do to him? Okay, you died one more time, you grow back. Why are you pissed off at Superman? What's going on here again? What is the switch? What changes Doomsday to want to fight Superman yet again, just because Lex killed him one more time? What does Lex have over him, or what's going on there? That's where I lost a bit of a connection there. I don't understand their transition. Why does Doomsday simply dying again make him mad at Superman? I don't understand.
I don't know that I have a good answer. That was part of the initial conditioning, wasn't it? When he was killing him over and over to make him better, stronger, whatever than he's ever become. I mean, the whole mission was always to kill Superman, but I don't remember how or why that worked.
Yeah.
Or if it was just implied. Or I agree with you. It is confusing. He got, he was on a mission to get back home, and then, Lex is able to reach him and then turn him into the comic book version of Doomsday. But I don't understand why. Yeah, I don't know that I remember why he's got a vendetta for Superman specifically.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about Lois using him, but what? Yeah, I don't get the whole why he thinks Superman. I don't either. I don't get the motivation there. So.
So weird.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get an answer or some type of visual, just why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
So Doomsday is just, unleash on the community. And so when Clark and the boys, initially hear that, Clark sends them to protect Lois, and then they, go into rescue mode after Doomsday starts attacking Smallville. And this is really cool because they each go and are saving people. And I really liked these scenes because we get this nod and tie back to Jordan because he's helping Vicky, who's having a panic attack, to overcome hers. He talks about, and that's one of the things they recommend, like, grab something really cold and concentrate on your breathing if you're having a panic attack. And so he's helping her not just with the save and a protection, which he does later, but helping her get through this panic attack. And then we've also got John saving Denise as well. So I love getting to see the boys in action using their strengths and their different personalities here and helping to save the people from their hometown.
Yeah, it was actually a really good moments for them because it basically shows us the type of heroes that these two are going to become. They have, like you said, they have their strengths. And if they start focusing on using those abilities in ways that they can help people in need, it really makes for them to become great heroes in their future. And I like those. It was a great couple of moments for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was good to showcase their abilities and, like how they would approach the situation. So I did like seeing that. And then, of course, they don't really like have to hide either. So you get to see those connections being formed with the townspeople too. Yeah,
because the people in the town know them and they already trust them. Like, hey, I know these boys. We've grown up with these boys. So when they come to save me, I feel okay. I already know them. And now they have superpowers. It just helps them. There's already a personal history and personal connection there. And I think it's just going to help them be better heroes as they grow.
Yeah, definitely. So Doomsday is just wreaking havoc on the town, and Lex is watching the battle with Superman, and it's not going well. But he is watching from above in the armor, and we talked about Lex's armor in other media, that pink and green. We're not yet seeing that in the armor, but we are seeing it in the AI screens. They're all pink and green there.
Right.
But he is content to watch Doomsday do the work. So this was interesting. I thought, we were going to see Clark and Lex face off now that he had the armor. And I guess we will next episode. But no, he's still letting Doomsday do the work for him. And he's there, I guess, as backup. But, he is content to let others, again, do the work for him.
Well, that's typical bad guy behavior, right? Like, they're worried that they might not win in a one-on-one fight, so let somebody else get in, wear him down, bust him up a little bit, and then I'll come in for the big kill and be the big, heroic villain. I won for our side because I did the final punch. That's typical, and that's kind of how I read that scene. Lex is just letting Doomsday beat on him a little bit, and then he'll come in and finish him off.
Yeah, it's also like typical Lex, at least as we've seen him throughout this entire season. He wants everybody else to kind of do the dirty work for him so his hands can metaphorically remain clean, so that when he gets put away in prison for something he actually did, he can say that he didn't do it. Plausible, that plausible deniability. So I don't know. It's interesting, but they've certainly set him up to be able to be the Superman killer. So will he actually do it in the end? I don't know. We'll find out.
We're at the end of our notes. Let's just do a little predictions here. Like, how do you guys think the show is going to end? Are they going to kill Superman? Is he going to be depowered? Are the boys going to take over? Are they going to kill Lex? Are they going to kill Doomsday? Is Doomsday going to get back through his portal? There's so many directions. There's so many so many ends they have to tie up, and that's why I'm worried about this finale episode. It's too much for 42 minutes. And if they give us a Stargirl finale, I'm going to be so upset. So upset. So what do you guys think is going to happen?
Okay, my prediction is somehow Doomsday is going to be stopped. And that means that Lex is going to have to step in. And I think we'll see that battle. And I think I'm still like on the theory of like Clark gets Doomsday's heart somehow, and that allows him to continue on and do along with the boys and everybody else.
Yeah.
So I still think I'm holding that he's going to be fighting alongside the others because he somehow gets that heart or whatever. But as far as what are they going to do with Lex, I don't think Lex is going to be killed off. I think he's going to be put away for a bit longer because he is that type of villain. Like, yes, the series is ending, but you leave things open for things to continue. And Lex is not a villain that is, you're gonna end just because the series is ending. I think he gets put away, maybe by the DOD or whatever, that they lock him up. But like they're not gonna kill him off. But that's kind of where I'm going. I think Doomsday's taken out, and then you get the real battle of Clark and Lex against each other.
Here's a far-reaching, fun one just to throw in there. Doomsday beats on Superman, weakens him. Lex comes in to finish him off and is just about to kill Superman, but Doomsday remembers who he is. He's Bizarro. He's trying to get home to his own world. He sees Lois, and all of that comes flashing back. And as Luthor is putting on the finishing blows, Doomsday steps in and takes Luthor down. And the two of them fight to the death, and Superman's barely hanging on. I don't know what the boys are doing, but maybe Lex and Doomsday end up killing each other, and then they get the heart to save Superman because he's just about dying with all the kryptonite attacks. That's just a stretching, far-reaching
Who
one.
knows?
Just for fun.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different ways they can go. I think they're fully setting it up for us to think that Superman is going to die. So whether or not they do that, I don't know. I would like to see Doomsday. I would like to see, since they gave us a Doomsday accurate looking character, that he is stopped in the same way as in the comics, and that we get that sort of iconic scene that's in my brain. So I would love to see that personally. How that happens, at what cost, I don't know. So we'll have to see. But I feel like they can't just leave Lex hanging there with this like all-powerful suit without him having to do something. So whether maybe it's the boys and Superman that are able to overpower Doomsday, and so we get him, sent off into space, if you will, or if they, take a different route and then they have to go head-to-head with Lex. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I don't know, but like the people that have the screeners, they were like, I was standing the entire episode.
Oh, God.
Like so, like, so I don't know. Like, we'll see. But like, we have enjoyed the writers and this crew for all these seasons. I think they're going to do well. I think, I really think they're going to do better than what we got with Stargirl. And even though it would have been better if it was longer, I think they're going to do well. But who knows how it's going to go.
I have faith. To give my realistic answer, I think we have to remember there's a cameo coming. So somebody's going to show up and help in the fight. The boys got to get in the fight. I think it's going to come down to the final blows. Lex's suit gets destroyed. He gets thrown back in prison. Doomsday gets to go back to his homeworld, and Superman loses his powers, and the boys take over with whoever this cameo is. That's the storyline that we're going to see off in the sunset. What they've never done before, Superman is depowered, he becomes immortal, and he retires. And the boys take over as the Super Twins, and away they go. That's my realistic answer.
I think it's a really good theory. Really good one.
All right. Let's pause for our ad break real quick and we'll get into our favorite scenes.
Shape out an eagle.
All right. All the way back to the beginning, Harley.
I did. I thought this one was fun. So I wanted to hear it again, and I called it the kids menu.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Paying customers only. Go on. Sit wherever you like.
Let's do the counter today. Well, this is new. Didn't name Mom's tea after her. You got a full meal.
John's famous French dip. Sweet.
I don't think I got anything.
No, here it is. Jordan's loaded curly fries.
Wait, where? On the kids menu? Does Vicky know that we're the same age?
Dude, relax. Everyone loves fries.
Yeah, says the guy with the great French dip.
You know what? It is weird. Knowing what we know, it kind of makes us all feel wrong.
Yeah, you'd think if you're gonna name a kid's meal after someone, you'd at least ask their permission first.
No, I mean, everyone in here is just going about their day with no idea how dangerous Luther is.
Because they don't have to. It's not their job to fight him.
Yeah, which is why we have to help Dad.
You heard what he said.
Yeah, but he's not how he used to be. Okay, which means you and I have to step up.
2 specials on the house.
Wow. Thanks. Jordan's very excited to try his curly fries.
Uh-huh.
It is a fun moment, for sure. I really like how they developed the brothers' storyline this season. It's the best we've gotten for the two of them.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, I like that they're working together. And I mean, it was funny. It was some good comedic relief. I love the gag where he's like holding his fries in the container, like next to his face. Like that was hilarious.
With the big goggles and everything. That's why it's so funny.
Yeah.
But it's also a good moment between the two of them. And so I like that they're, coming together. I think it foreshadows that they'll join the fight together, with their powers combined. They'll be able to do it.
Yeah, really, really fun stuff. All right, X-Force, I already played 2 of my bonus scenes, so you're up next.
All right. So this one I called Lois and Bruno. And so let's take a listen.
Thank you for agreeing to see me.
You look healthy.
Dr. Ko wouldn't go so far as to say I'm cancer-free, but my treatments are all done.
She's a great doctor.
Everyone at your hospital was very good to me.
I'm happy for you. And I'm sure Pia would be too.
I'm sorry for your loss. Despite everything, Pia was a really good friend to me, and I never could have gotten through chemo without her.
That means a lot. But it isn't the reason you're here.
Luther. He keeps coming after my family.
You're the one that let him out of jail. What'd you expect?
He didn't kill Boss Moxie. I didn't have a choice.
You did. You just made the wrong one.
That is not true.
Pia warned you. She told you he was the devil. And now, You had to go and experience hell for yourself.
I couldn't live with putting him away for something he didn't do.
How's that working out for you?
This isn't about me, it's about my family.
Why do you think we set Luther up in the first place? What he's doing to you, he was doing in South Metropolis for years. Making people offers like they actually had a choice. Killing anyone who turned him down. Destroy good families. People in the suicide slums were crying out for help long before you and Superman took notice.
You're right. We should have done more. And I promise we will learn from that and do better. But right now, in this moment, I am asking for your help.
You and that husband of yours. You only give a damn now because it affects you. Jerry!
Luther isn't gonna stop at my family. If we don't put him away, he is gonna cause a lot of pain for a lot of people, including everyone in Hobbs Bay. He will destroy everything good you have built there. You can't want that. I know Pia wouldn't.
Don't you bring her into this.
Then what about Mateo? He is coming after my boys. You think he won't come after yours?
What is it you want me to do exactly?
You helped send Luther to prison for 17 years with a lie. Help me put him away for good with the truth. Where is he now?
Darius Chapel? What's left of him is in the bottom of Hobbs Bay.
Is there anyone with an axe to grind against Luther who isn't dead?
Luther doesn't leave loose ends.
There's gotta be someone.
This is who Luther is. I care about my people. Lex only cares about himself. Doesn't matter who you are, he will use you up and throw you away, never to be seen again.
Kinda like what happened with Cheryl Kimball.
Hold on. Luther killed Cheryl.
I have reason to believe so, yeah. Why? Did you know her?
Long time ago. Cheryl was sharp as a tack. Funny as hell. Knew how to hold a whiskey too.
What did she do for Luther?
Well, she left the service with all kinds of contacts. Some real heavy hitters. She introduced him to Luther so he could start building his empire.
But her contacts became his contacts.
And he didn't need her anymore.
Until he did. He had her assume an alias Gretchen Kelly and go on a date and seduce my dad.
To do something like that to someone who loved you? That's low, even for Luther.
Wait a minute. Cheryl was in love with Luther?
They were an item back in the day. Think Cheryl got it in her head she could change him. Have a feeling that Luther might have given her that idea.
I'm pretty sure that pattern is repeating itself.
Thing about a pattern, it always ends the same.
Thank you for your help, Bruno. I really appreciate it.
Lois, I'm glad Superman is back. Tell him he's still got work to do.
This was great, getting to see the two of them spar like we talked about verbally. And it just reminds us of how strong a character Bruno is. And, you know, just how Lois makes it personal. That I really love that. But I love this scene because it's a two-person scene. And it's just displaying powerful acting and emotions on full display here. We just basically got two people in a room talking, but you just get the gravitas and you get the strengths of both of them, and you get to see them act so well. And, you know, it's great to see that showcased here in this, you know, next to last episode.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the scene was just burning with passion in how they delivered their lines. It was really, really good. Just a really strong scene, like you said, with just two people. They held their own against each other. It was amazing.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I really loved their scenes together. Was not expecting to get these scenes at all, and so definitely a highlight of the episode for me, for sure. Loved it.
Totally. All right, well, I'm going to just wrap it up with one of the final scenes in the movie. This is when Clark goes to visit Mama Lara at the fortress to ask for some guidance.
How long will it take for the boys' abilities to become what mine used to be?
Cal, your sons are not you.
How long?
I'm afraid it will never happen.
What if we change the training?
It would make no difference. Their limitations are genetic. No half-Kryptonian could be what you were.
They shouldn't have to be. I'm their father. I'm supposed to protect them.
And you have. Their entire lives.
But I'm losing my ability to do it when I need it the most.
I understand your frustration, Cal. It reminds me of your father.
But he did protect me. You both did. You sent me here.
And it was the hardest decision we ever made. When Krypton was dying, Jor-El and I spent many restless nights trying to find a way to save our planet. We refused to give up. But eventually we had to accept our fate. Fighting wasn't going to keep you safe from the danger we were about to face. The only thing that could do that was to send you away.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, I wanted to throw that one in because even though we don't get much Mama Lara scenes, like there's something about, I love the actress. She feels like Clark's mom. There's so much compassion in her when she's talking to him, and it's great. It's just a great little, I love that he can go see her whenever he needs to.
No, it was a great scene. I wondered if he wasn't going to suggest that they send the boys somewhere at the very end there, and then they get interrupted, so...
Yeah, interesting. But I also like that she lays it out like, like mothers do. Like, no, this is the harsh reality. You have to deal with it. They're never going to be like you. Tough love, Mom. Thank you. Yep. All right. Well, we're about to get into feedback. But before we do that, let's remind you how you can support the show.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
Don't keep it to yourself now. Come on, baby, talk to us. It's feedback, yeah.
All right, first up is a voicemail from Dad L.
Hello, Superfam. Dad L here. Well, I thought this was a much better episode this week because of how they handled Lois. Lois acted much smarter in this episode. Going to see Bruno was smart. It was good to see that character again. Just driving the wedge between Amanda and Lex was smart. Telling Clark to figure out what the boys can do, not just talking about what they can't do. This is the Lois that we want. She's their Superman's partner, and she was smart, thoughtful, and driven, and so it recovered Lois from the other last week's episode for me. So this is the kind of Lois Lane that we want, so it was good to see that. I really enjoyed the Super Dad and Super Sons training scene, but I hope it pays off in the finale, that we see the boys work together somehow and do achieve that stronger together kind of lesson that Clark was trying to teach them. One thing I was wondering about, isn't it kind of odd that Doomsday just been hanging out in the mines near Smallville? No one noticed. I know Clark's hearing is diminished, but I think they're pretty close to town. The boys didn't pick up on it, so I just thought that was interesting. No one picked up on that. I guess we'll just have to overlook that for the sake of the plot. And following up on Lex getting the test that John Henry ran, yeah, that was a thought I had last week, and sure enough, he did, but it really didn't factor into the story. Just a small blip at the beginning with a newspaper headline, so there's really no consequence. So yeah, I really didn't like that. Now, I do like that Clark does go to the fortress though and consults his mother. Yeah, he should have done that concerning his diminishing powers, but at least we got to see it discussing the boys with her. So I thought that was good. Maybe the last trip to the fortress in this series. In Lex, I'm really glad they have done such a good job of setting this Lex apart from other iterations, with him being so consumed with revenge. He's a control freak. He's a madman. So I think this has been a good portrayal in that aspect. So I guess the biggest question is, how are they going to defeat Doomsday? Do they somehow open that portal up to Bizarro World? Does this version of Doomsday even know about that, given he's kind of lost his connection to Lois? He's forgotten some things, but anyway, so that's going to be interesting to see, and I'm looking forward to the final showdown of Superman versus Lex. And if you've seen the promos, you see some interesting scenes going on, so I'm excited for that. All in all, I'm going to give this episode 9 curly fries, just because it did so well with Lois for me. Dad-El, less father of Krypton.
Yes, yeah.
I want some curly fries now.
I know, me too.
I'm hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet. I gotta go get some food.
Breakfast.
Wow.
Yeah, awesome stuff, Dad-El. Comic Geek Kev is up next, and I haven't read him in a while, so I'm taking it. Good day, Legends. Oh my God, this show. I literally gasped at the very last second of the episode. Lots of travel and activities this week, so I'll keep it fairly short. So, as speculated, Luthor knows about Superman's situation after taking the steel armor. That Milton is really, really creepy. Like they're trying to make him the motionless machine like Brainiac. Pretty well done. Who knows what might have happened with him in more seasons. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. We could have seen that whole transition. Turning into Brainiac. The scene of the boys at the diner was pretty funny. A couple things with the fries. That was not a kid portion, and the picture on it made Jordan look like Plastic Man. I laughed out loud. I had forgotten he had. Superman figured out the right way to get Lex off his game. Get under his skin and not physically attack him. I understand why he attacked him before, after the attempt on Lana's life, but that played right into Lex's hands. Yes, they are understanding their enemies. Is this what Amanda wanted, or might she end up the same as Cheryl? Now we know that Cheryl was once in a relationship with Lex, and we see how that ended for her. Once he didn't need her anymore, he had her taken out. He's buying any integrity Amanda may have had, but he'll throw her away in the end. Cool test fight compilation, but they're obviously not ready, and you can see that realization on Clark's face. I don't think they have specifically said before that the boys would have limitations due to their genetics, but it makes sense as far as comic book science goes. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Do prisons actually put inmates' names on their clothes? I don't think I've ever seen that in any TV show. Just struck me as odd. I had a job once that took me into a New York State prison, and I can tell you that those inmates did not have their names on their clothes, but maybe Metropolis has that extra cash. Yeah, usually it's either blank or it's just a number, like you're in 10354, you know? Yeah, I guess they get a bit of distinction in Metropolis. I completely expected Doomsday to come back, but I had different hopes. I thought we might see him sacrifice himself in some way for Lois so that Superman could have his heart. I guess that could still happen, but it doesn't look good. We're going to find out. Not making Lex's armor green and purple is a real miss. Even if they had muted colors, it would have been cool. Movies and TV never really matched the bright colors of the comics, which is understandable in most cases, but to leave the suit silver was kind of disappointing. He still looks pretty awesome in it though. Sharp-dressed man in a killer suit indeed. We might see it still. We might. I think in all of the joints and stuff where the green is glowing, I think that's where we might get it. We'll see. And that last scene, Superman looks so beaten and he seems resigned to his own defeat and death. And then Doomsday takes him away before he can finish the sentence. This show knows how to hit right where it hurts. I watched the extended final trailer that was on the Facebook page. I won't say anything specific in case others haven't seen it. It's amazing, but I will say this. The shot of the needlepoint that said it went by too fast, I cannot agree more. The best show on TV, sadly coming to an end far too soon. I'm giving this one 9.5 out of 10 true heroes. I'm taking off that half point because they didn't give the armor a paint job. Until next time, Comic Geek Kev.
Nice.
Yes, good thoughts, Kev. Good thoughts. We'll have to see what happens in the finale.
Yes.
Next up, Rick Marshall.
Hey guys, Rick from Orlando here with feedback on the penultimate episode of Superman and Lois. And who would have thought that we get to the point where there's only one episode left of this great series? They did a good job with this one. There were a couple of things I did not like, which I'll talk about, but fortunately they didn't really ruin the episode overall. And I think for the most part, we're in great shape to have a great finale. The two things I did not like, and one of these I've talked about before, they sort of implied again at the beginning of the episode that somehow Godfrey with this talk show, Godfrey then the Lois interview, that somehow they're going to turn public opinion against Lois because of the fact that Luthor had to be in prison for 17 years for a crime he didn't commit. I just don't buy that. I don't buy the theory that they're going to turn public opinion against Superman and Lois. They both have impeccable reputations. Luthor does not. And I don't think the public's going to care about the fact that he was in prison for the wrong reason, because they know he committed many other crimes. To me, it would be analogous to, let's say, Al Capone. Remember, Al Capone was a mobster, serial killer, committed many crimes. He actually never went to prison for any of his crimes. What they eventually got him on was a tax evasion charge because he never paid tax on any of his illegal income. So he went to prison for that, but he got away with all the other crimes. And just imagine that it was Lois as the reporter who maybe came up with the evidence that he had evaded his taxes, and maybe he went to prison because of some evidence that Lois uncovered, and then after 17 years they have to release him. Do you think the public would be mad at Lois? I don't think so. I think they'd be mad at the system for the fact that Capone committed all these other crimes that he wasn't convicted of. So I think the public would be happy that there was some reason to get Al Capone off the streets. Or take something like Charles Manson. Charles Manson did go to prison for his crimes. He actually died in prison, and he was a serial killer many times over. But let's just say Charles Manson had somehow gotten away with all his crimes, and Lois comes along and maybe comes up with some evidence that finally gets Charles Manson off the street, puts him in prison for 17 years. And again, let's say he gets out because the evidence was tainted or something like that. The public's not going to be mad at Lois. They're going to think Lois was a heroine for being able to at least come up with some way to get him off the street for 17 years. I think the public would be mad at the system for Charles Manson getting away for things for so long. And that's really what would happen here in the real world. People would be mad about the fact that Luthor is free right now, that he got away with so many crimes in the past. They're not going to blame Lois. The other thing I did not like was there was a real mood change with respect to the way the community is responding to the news that Superman is Clark Kent. A couple episodes back, they had this wonderful scene after Superman or Clark reveals that he is Superman. He reveals that to the world. And they have this wonderful scene at the end where Clark walks into the restaurant and he knows that his identity has now been revealed. And he thinks that everybody's going to make a big fuss over him being Superman. But no, they say, "Hey, Clark. Hi, Mr. Kent." They don't make any reference to Superman. They go about their business. And it was a wonderful scene because it conveyed a sense of community. It conveyed that he is Clark. He will always be Clark to them. He's the Clark that they all grew up with. He's been in that community since he was a child. And it was just a wonderful, evocative, emotional scene. And it seems to me they've totally undone that now. Last episode, they had a scene where Jonathan and Jordan are hanging out with their friends, and their friends are treating them like celebrities. And now this episode, we find that the restaurant has little Superman souvenirs. They have meals named after the family members. So clearly, the community is trying to capitalize now on the fact that Superman is one of its residents. They're capitalizing on it. And to me, it totally distorts the message that was conveyed just 2 episodes back of how Clark is accepted as a member of the community. And I think that the reason that this inconsistency takes place is mainly because there are different writers. The last three episodes have had different writers, different directors, and maybe you need a showrunner to kind of coordinate things a little bit better. Because if you're going to make the case that the community is trying to capitalize on Superman being a resident, then don't give us the scene a couple episodes back where the community is accepting him as Clark. I just think that's a mixed message, and I think what the last 2 episodes have done is really undermine the message of the previous episode. Even if you take the approach that maybe the community just changed its mind, they were shell-shocked at first, and now they're realizing that they have a gold mine in front of them, I still think it undermines the message of the previous episode. And if you're going to convey the message that they want to commercialize, then you shouldn't have had that scene in the prior episode where the community really accepts Clark. So I didn't like that. But these are nitpicks, and they did not take up the whole episode. I think the bulk of the episode was getting us ready for the finale. We've got the Luther suit. We've got the boys training. We got a great scene with Lois talking to Bruno Manheim. Great scene there, getting Bruno to help provide her with evidence she can use against Luther. I think the scene where Clark and Superman stand up to Luther, where he says, "I want to get under Luther's skin," and he does. He has that old Clark grin. He says, "Hey, nice tie," and you can tell Luther's mad. He rips the tie off. So I think this was an episode that had many great scenes. I loved what they did with Amanda. I've always said Amanda is a great character. She's a strong, assertive, independent female. I like it when they create characters like this. She can run a company. She's very intelligent. I didn't like that brief stretch where she came across as kind of a lovesick puppy dog to Luther, but I really like the fact that in this episode she finally comes to her senses. She realized what Luther is doing. She stands up to him. I think the portrayal of Amanda in this episode was great. I did like the scene in the restaurant where Jordan is helping the woman, I guess the restaurant owner, the one who had all the souvenirs, so I guess this was meant to be ironic, that he helps her get through a panic attack. Now, I thought it was kind of dumb that he didn't just whisk her out of there. As soon as he realized she's having the attack, get her out of the restaurant, because it's dangerous there, get her somewhere safe, and for dramatic reasons, they let him stay in there with her, and he has to protect her and so forth. So but the scene itself, where he's working with her to deal with her panic attack, was great. So for the most part, I think they did a good job with this episode. I think they set us up well for the finale, and I think the finale is going to be something really good and really special. The only remaining question for me is, how do they close out this series? How do we end it all? There's three possibilities. One, they could literally kill Superman off. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they could really get permission from the studio to do that or from DC Comics, so I'm not expecting them to kill Superman off. They could also do what you guys suggested. Maybe he gets a new heart. Maybe he gets a heart from Bizarro. Maybe this is the end of the Bizarro. Maybe Bizarro and Doomsday kind of sacrifice themselves to help defeat Luthor, and maybe the end is that Clark gets the Bizarro heart, which is basically an altered version of himself, and maybe it just ends with him having his superpowers and everything is normal. Or there's a third possibility, which is that they could just say that Superman actually loses his powers, and maybe the boys take over and they become the new version of Superman, or the two new versions of Superman. That would emulate a very famous story from, I think it was 1986. There's a story called Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. It was advertised as the, quote, final Silver Age story. Now, technically, it wasn't written during the Silver Age. The Silver Age ended, I think, in 1970. This was really the tail end of the Bronze Age, 1986. But it was written in the style of the Silver Age. It was an imaginary story. It had different forms of kryptonite. It had Bizarros. It had Superman robots. It had Supergirl. It had Krypto. It had Mixie-Plick from the Fifth Dimension. So it really was a prototypical Silver Age type story. And interestingly, Julius Schwartz, who was the editor, he was getting ready to retire, he wanted Jerry Siegel to write the story. Jerry Siegel was Superman's creator. And for Siegel to write the first Superman story and then effectively the last Silver Age story would have really been great. And Siegel would have done a great job on it. But they couldn't get Siegel because of contract issues. So they got Alan Moore wrote the story. And Alan Moore did a really good job. This is a great story. The reason I bring it up is because in it, Superman loses his powers to golden kryptonite, I think. And the ending of the story, Superman has retired. He and Lois are retired. They're aging. He's now got gray hair. He's changed his name to Jordan, Jordan, Jor-El, so that people won't know who he is. And then the very last scene is baby Jonathan, or toddler Jonathan, is now exhibiting superpowers. And you realize that Jonathan is likely to take over as the new Superman. They could do something similar with this show, where Jonathan and Jordan take over as the new versions of Superman. Again, I don't know that the studio would let them do that, but it's a possibility. Anyway, whatever they do, I think it'll be great, and I am looking forward to it. And that's about all I got for this week, so I'll talk to you again soon. This is Rick from Orlando. Take care.
Good thoughts, bringing in some of the comic lore. That's good, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we always can count on Rick for. He's been around longer than us and knows all the history of that, all that stuff. Yeah. So always good. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he came away pleased with this episode, and leading into the finale, hopefully we can all come out feeling happy and pleased. All right, one more, and it is Perry White.
Hey, fam, still. If you celebrate, I hope you all enjoyed American Thanksgiving. And while I'd hoped that this episode, To Live and Die Again, would have been a feast, I did leave the episode feeling a little bit less than fulfilled. Let's just say that this episode was an inside filler for the Daily Planet. Don't get me wrong, there are parts of this episode I love, but I can't help but feeling an overall sense of being less than whelmed. All right, so here are my 7 takeaways. Takeaway number 1. I like that we got to check in with Bruno Manheim. I gotta admit, though, I'm kind of surprised he's still among the living, considering that he set up Lex. I mean, it would be easy for Lex to have him killed in prison. It makes me wonder why Lex has spared him. Takeaway number 2. I love that Jordan found a truly unique way to be heroic during the Battle of Smallville, helping out waitress number 1 deal with the panic attack. I think it was X-Force who was talking about how it would be cool for Jordan to sort of find a way to be heroic in a way that's different than Clark and different than Jonathan. And this felt like a perfect way to do it, so that's freaking cool. Takeaway number 3. Comic accurate Doomsday was truly a sight to behold, especially with a shrunken budget that we have this season. Takeaway number 4. Speaking of Doomsday, his story arc makes no sense. It's just all over the place, right? So first, he lets Lex turn him into a monster. Then Lois is able to appeal to, I guess, his humanity. Then Lex weaponizes him again. It all feels pretty flaky for the big fella. All right, takeaway number 5. While the show wanted that final scene to be pretty powerful, it's undermined, in my opinion, by 2 things. I mean, first of all, we've seen Doomsday kill Superman, and to think that just a few episodes later that they would do the same thing, that doesn't feel like much of a cliffhanger. And the second thing is, even if you avoid spoilers, right? The finale promos shows Superman fighting Lex, right? So we know that Doomsday didn't kill him. All right, takeaway number 6. Isn't it interesting that Lex could swap out all those downtown lights and turn them into basically red sun rays, and nobody sees him do it? But when Doomsday takes on Superman, everyone in downtown Smallville is there. Just feels kind of weird. All right, takeaway number 7. I liked Amanda better when she appeared to have motivations other than being quote-unquote Lex's love interest. Now she just feels like a jealous, jilted lover, and she feels less than compelling. All right, that's all I got. Even though I felt like the penultimate episode was a bit of a letdown, I am extremely excited about the finale. However, taking on Doomsday and a suited-up Lex Luthor while having to fit the entire cast into 42 minutes of television feels like a daunting task.
Yep. But
I've trusted these showrunners for 4 years, so I'm going to give them the benefit of doubt, and here's to hoping that they stick the landing. Before I go, here are my finale predictions sure to go wrong. Prediction number 1. Doomsday provides Clark with his indestructible heart. Prediction number 2. Lex dies, but it'll either be by suicide or at the hands of Amanda, not by Clark's doing. Prediction number 3. There will be a time jump showing the boys in their super suits. Prediction number 4. I think it was Elizabeth Tulloch who teased that the finale will have an Arrowverse cameo, and I am willing to bet that it will be the Spectre, our very own Oliver Queen, Stephen Amell, taking a part of that time jump. All right, fam. This has been Perry White recovering from his food coma and wondering how in the heck did Jimmy Olsen run up a $500 bill at that Smallville diner. Great Caesar's ghost.
I like your predictions, Perry.
Yeah.
I like the
Very
time
nice.
jump one of the boys in super suits. That would be my favorite one to see.
Yeah.
That would be cool. And Stephen Amell showing up, I mean, yeah, as the Spectre, that'd be pretty awesome. Or just this world's Oliver Queen. That'd be cool, too.
Yeah.
Awesome thoughts all around, guys. We are headed into the finale, so we hope to have you all here, plus anybody else that has yet to leave feedback. I did hear from Miss Dreamweaver. She's trying to catch up. We might hear from her in the finale, so...
Nice.
All right.
Alrighty, guys. So, to get in your thoughts as well, then leaving feedback on our email, you can also go to speedpike.com facebook.com/Tomorrow's Legends and leave a voicemail there. Otherwise, just do this.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to Tomorrow's Legends Podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, next week, the director is Gregory Smith, who's the executive producer, and the writers are the foundational writers, Brent Fletcher and Todd Helbing. So I mean, they're hopefully going to bring it. Tom Cavanaugh's back next week as Gordon, and said they've already told us that our regular cast is all going to be there. So
except for Sam.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one.
Yep, it'll be a big one, guys. I'm looking forward to it. I am excited as much as I am sad. I'll save the sadness for when it actually ends. I'm truly going to be excited. I want to see how they wrap it up, and it is. We're delayed recording this, so it's pretty much tomorrow night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
I am excited and sad as well.
Oh my gosh. Alrighty, guys. Well, one more show coming to an end. Oh well. Let's just enjoy it as much as we possibly can, and everybody get in some good feedback to wrap this thing up, and then we will come back and talk one more time with the rest of the Cybercast Network. We'll do one more bonus show before the year's out. We'll just figure out when and let you guys know. That is it for tonight, guys. This is The Flash signing off.
And this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
This is X-Force 11, so say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.